so excited. Hey guys, it's Julia. Welcome back to my channel. So today I am finally continuing the color series. This is gonna be one of the last episodes just because there's only so many colors in the rainbow, but I may do an updated version in the future. Today, probably one of the most requested ones has been the pink eyeshadows video. And for somebody who loves pink so deeply, as you will see in the next 20 minutes or so as I show you all my favorite pink eyeshadows in my collection, I actually don't own a ton of pink clothing, which is weird. So I have 2 scrunchies on, but I couldn't find any clothes to match, so
she's a disgrace to humanity.
Pink can be a very scary color to approach just because it looks like pink eye sometimes. My mom actually hates it when I wear pink eyeshadow just because she says I look sick whenever I do it. So supportive. But personally, I am such a hoe for pink eyeshadow. I think with some finessing it can be one of the most universally flattering, and I think a lot of people who have more like warm yellow undertones think that they can't really wear pink eyeshadows. That is wrong. Pink eyeshadows are great, and I have a ton of favorites that I'm super excited to share with you guys. I will leave the rest of the color series in the cards if you want to go watch those. Full details of this makeup that I've been wearing for 8 hours, so it's very, very dewy right now. Should already be on Instagram. I will be sharing what I'm wearing on my eyes later on in the video. I have the cardigan on that I've been wearing for the past like 10 videos. Scrunchies are from 4th Ray Beauty, Colourpop, and these earrings are from a brand called Juvia. Got my pink eyeshadow on, got my horses in the back. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the pink eyeshadow. I'm gonna start off with what I'm wearing on my eyes today. This is kind of like an undershaded pink look because I kind of just put a neutral shade into my crease. I wasn't really planning on doing anything super extravagant, and then I put this pink shadow on top and it just takes it there every time. In my opinion, is the best pink eyeshadow to ever be created. Super Shock pigment from Colourpop in the shade Slave to Pink. And I'm not the hugest fan of the Super Shock shadows, but for a few certain colors I make exceptions, and this, bitch. It is the most beautiful duochrome metallic hot pink shade. Technically, it's not for eye area, but do you think I listened to that? Basically, they have to say that it's not for eye area because it is a pressed pigment shade. There are some ingredients in here that could cause irritation on more sensitive eyes, but on me, this one has never stained or done anything bad. And I am actually allergic to a lot of like pink/red pigments, so I do have a hard time with some pinks, and this is perfectly fine on me. Campaign shots for this pink shade were freaking beautiful. This is a really beautiful like metallic pink shade, but it does have some like flecks of purple glitter in there. It's really, really fine glitter though, so it just looks so wet and metallic and just juicy on the eyes, and it's, and to quote Whitney Simmons, hot fire flames. If you're wanting that same kind of level of like really freaking intense hot pink, but you want a matte, I have been loving the Anastasia Beverly Hills Riviera palette. This is their newest one, and I do have a full review of this on my channel, so if you want like a more in-depth like actual palette review, go ahead and check it out, but I just want to focus on the pink shades in here because Bahamas, this is an intense pressed pigment shade. It's very, very pink, very, very vibrant, and I use this one in the tutorial portion of the review video, so if you want to see it in action, it's really, really good. But unlike the CColor palette, which is also pressed pigments, it's super easy to blend. It's not super, super powdery either, but it packs the most beautiful, like bright shock of hot pink pigment. It is just so gorgeous and so intense with a very small amount of product. And then the shade next to it, Monte Carlo, is also a really nice matte pink. I like this one for just kind of blending out whatever I do with Bahamas, just to give it a kind of more like rosy tinge rather than like bright neon. This is a beautiful palette for summer, spring, anytime you want to wear color. Honestly, there's no rules. This would be a great video for a pinkety drinkety from Starbucks, but I don't have $6 to spend on drinks, so I have Diet Sprite with red food dye in it and a plastic straw that's illegal in California. Probably on the same caliber and quality as Bahamas would be from the Morphe James Charles palette, the shade that caused the infamous
Explain that, Mr. Charles.
Skip down in the bottom right hand corner of the James Charles Morphe palette. Quite possibly one of my best matte shades in my collection. It's very, very hard to create a very nice matte hot pink like this one that's both easy to blend, has a nice amount of pigmentation to it, but also doesn't get messy. So this, I feel like it genuinely stays the color it is when you blend it out. It doesn't turn like a dusty kind of rose shade. It doesn't like lose that brightness, which I think is very hard to find. Overall, the formula of this entire palette is pretty bomb. Skip is definitely my favorite pink in the palette. I'm not a huge fan of the pinkety drinkety shade, ironically, because I feel like even on my extremely pale vitamin D deficient skin tone, this doesn't show up on me. But the kind of like berry magenta shade here, which I believe is called Love That, love that.
Hated that.
Overall, I'm sure you guys probably know how I feel about this entire palette. I just think the quality is absolutely insane. But I think Skip is a shade that people have been avoiding just because of that whole Twitter rant staining the eyeballs thing. Again, this has never stained my eyeballs. This has never given me irritation or hives. Of course, if you are sensitive to those types of ingredients, definitely proceed with caution, but I'm just saying I'm very sensitive with like red shades and pink shades, and this has never caused me problems. Quite possibly my favorite pink shade ever came from a Juvia's Place palette, the Festival palette. There was a shade in the middle, I believe it was called Irigi, which inspired me to create an entire tutorial oriented around that one shade. So unfortunately I no longer have that palette. I did declutter it, but I do remember that pink shade being just absolutely fire. The only reason I got rid of that palette was just because I felt like I had that color story and it was not really doing it for me anymore. So I did get rid of that one, but I do want to throw in that pink shade because it was so good. However, a pink shade I do still have from Juvia's Place is from the Masquerade Mini. I wanted to mention the hot pink shade here called Bori, which is this gorgeous, bright, vibrant hot pink. It does have micro glitter in it, which y'all know how I feel about mattes with micro glitter. Be gone, fuck! So even though this one does have little flecks of tiny gold glitter running through it, I feel like you can't really see it on the eyes. Whereas with the shade over here called Cairo, which is an orange matte brown shade with some beautiful gold micro glitter running through it, you can totally see it on the eyes, whereas this one I feel like it blends away and you don't really see that glitter. It just helps it to blend more. I believe the Zulu palette had a bright pink in there as well, which I really enjoyed, but I would say pretty much any matte pink shade from Juvia's Place would be a safe bet. It has been a while since I bust down, Tatiana? It's been a while since I busted out my Sugar Pill Pro palette, but I am still riding hard for Doloppop. And this is one of those shades that's very hard to find. I believe they only carry it on certain websites. But I would say Doloppop is one of my favorite shades from Sugar Pill besides Buttercup Cake and Taco. This one, you'll see in the swatches, it doesn't swatch very well at all.
Just kidding, I got it.
You'll see that Bahamas from the Riviera palette, it's this kind of like hot, almost like warm toned pink, whereas this is just like a true pink, like bubblegum shade. It's really girly, it's really like Barbie. And it also doesn't lean too cool toned either. I feel like when a pink leans too like mauve cool toned, it just looks like you have pink eye. And then I have two really good affordable pinks as well. The first one, I wanted to mention this Smoke palette from Carity. I've had a ton of requests to try Carity's eyeshadows and I'm still testing this one out. I will be sharing a full review. I'm still in the testing phases. Whenever I go in here to make looks, I keep gravitating towards this one hot pink shade in the middle. I really like the Carity formula. I don't think it's as good as like the James Charles Morphe palette. I think that's kind of my holy grail in terms of colorful eyeshadows, but this is very, very nice. This pink shade here does take a little bit of building, but it gets to this really like nice intense pink, hot pink shade, but it doesn't look too chalky on the eyes either. So I don't feel like it deposits a ton of powder. It just kind of deposits the color and then blends away the powders. It's actually kind of similar now that I look at it to the James Charles Morphe palette pinks. But yeah, I like this one a lot. Still developing my thoughts on Carity as a whole, but I think the formula is pretty nice. And I keep talking about this palette because I ride hard for it. Crystal Scents Creative Me eyeshadow palette. If you're wanting, again, some really, really good, solid, affordable colorful eyeshadows, this is probably the best you can go. Colourpop as of now has not created a fully like rainbow palette yet, which I would love to see them do, but until then, this is awesome. And if you really love matte shadows, pink shades in here are really good. Pretty much the same quality as their single shadows. You take a bit more building. Again, the James Charles palette is just one of those palettes where it's like instantly bright on the eyes. These need a little bit of time to get there. They're just awesome. Next category is berry toned pinks. So these are kind of like deeper, richer. Imagine like raspberry instead of like strawberry. Okay. One of my favorite like solid, very pink themed, pretty much all pink palette would be the Huda Beauty New Nude palette. So I think I have a full review of this one as well on the channel, but I think this is so beautiful. Even though it does seem to be pretty monochromatic, it is definitely very like pink geared. I think you can get some good neutral looks out of it as well. So I've done some like brown toned looks as well as some very like pink, berry, purple tone looks. It's also a little bit more on the cool tone / neutral side. So I feel like with a lot of pinker palettes, you see more like warm tones, very like peachy pinks, whereas this is more on the like cool tone, dusty mauve side of things. Tickle is my favorite like blush pink transition in the world. Of course, all the rose gold shimmers in here. But overall, I think Huda makes one of my top 10 favorite formulas. It's very like dry in texture. Her mattes are not creamy at all, but that I feel like that really helps them blend out. And they still have a ton of pigmentation to them, even though they're not quite as like soft and creamy as Anastasia's. I think the shimmers are one of the most unique formulas I've ever seen. I keep the plastics insert in here just so I don't like stab them with my fingernails when I go in, which I painted pink just for this video. Please appreciate that. Can we really get through a pink video without mentioning Modern Renaissance? I think not. This palette has been used and abused. It's been to hell and back, but I think this was really what got people into pink eyeshadows in the first place, so I had to mention this one. It kind of got everyone into A, warm tones, but B, warm tones that weren't orange. It really got people into like these pinks and reds and really rich romantic colors, and I just love that. Love Letter is one of the most beautiful, like berry toned, deep reddish pink shades. I think this really inspired a lot of people, and it's definitely one of my favorite shades in my collection. Buon Fresco is also this really cool, cool toned, almost lavender pink shade again. So kind of similar to the Huda Beauty one. I don't think you need both palettes. If you want some really, really unique foiled metallic shimmers, go for the Huda one, but if you're wanting something a bit softer and more like romantic, this would be your go-to. Juvia's Place, again, they create some really amazing palettes where one shade just really grabs me in and makes me excited for the entire thing. Their minds so powerful. In particular, I'm talking about the shade in the middle called Nomad, which is my favorite shade in this entire palette of incredibly beautiful colors. It's not aggressively pink, it's kind of muted, so it does work really, really well with like some brown tone shades. I feel like it just gives this really beautiful, like, romantic, rusty look to the eyes, which I am such a hoe for. I think you'll see in the swatch just how insane and beautiful it looks, but this is truly one of the best shades in my entire collection. I feel like I haven't talked about this palette in a long time, but the Nabla Cosmetics Dreamy eyeshadow palette. This is one of my go-tos again for creating some nice everyday looks, but you do have a few more dramatic colors in here. And I wanted to mention a few shades in here. First of all, Senorita. This is the beautiful, like, berry toned pink shade of my dreams. I've done an eye look with this one, so I'll post it on screen. It's kind of like a lighter toned raspberry shade, but it's not super pink. It just looks so yummy on the eyes. And then Metal Cupid over here, it's this beautiful, like, kind of metallic, same version of this shade, but shimmery. And the Nabla would probably rank in my top 5 favorite formulas. I don't have the Poison Garden palette yet, which I'm really planning on getting, but they do have some really nice, like, deep berry toned pink shades in there, and I'm sure those are awesome as well. The packaging though. The last berry toned pink I have to mention is from the most criminally underrated colorful palette in my world. This is the Moira Cosmetics Sweet Paradise palette. I love it so much.
Country boy, I love you.
Pink berry toned magenta shade over here called Carefree. This is so rich. Again, it's that nice, like, raspberry toned pink shade. It's pretty vibrant though, so it's not quite as, like, muted as Senorita. This one is going to be more vibrant, but it just has this beautiful quality to it. It's kind of like a pink and a red and a tiny bit of purple mixed together, and it just makes me feel the good things. On a daily basis, I'm probably wearing a rose gold eye look, so I wanted to go through my favorite, like, rosy toned blush pinks, rose golds, just dusty rose shades. That's kind of my aesthetic. Millennial pink, whatever color this scrunchie is, whatever color this scrunchie is, so I fucks with that. I don't think I've ever had so many requests to review a certain palette, but the Colourpop Sweet Talk palette. I'll be sharing my review in the new Makeup Releases Favorites and Fails for the month of April, but still, I wanted to talk about this palette because it's pink.
Wow.
On me, because I do have a more yellow undertone, the kind of peachy undertone in these shades really does take to my yellow undertone, and it looks really, really peachy on my eyes. So on someone who's a bit more cool toned than I am, I think these would probably show up more pink on you than they would on me. I really like this one. It can be a little bit harder to work with just because of the pressed glitters, but I think the mattes in here just perform as wonderfully as every other Colourpop palette would. Norvina. So I did a video a couple months ago. It was called Products I Changed My Mind About, and I talked about this one because after my review of this, I kind of stopped using it. And in that video, I talked about how I kind of stopped using it. And doing that video a couple months ago really helped me get back into using this one. So I have been actually reaching for this very often. I'm wearing it on my eyes today. Wild Child, which I have on my inner corner. I actually hate this shade. It's probably the worst shade in the entire palette, and I don't like using it all over my lids. I feel like it's very finicky to get right. You definitely have to use it with a finger. It just does not work with a brush at all. Something about the dimethicone in here, it just does not pick up on a brush, and I just, like, can't get it to work with a brush. But with my finger, something about, like, the natural oils on your finger really helps this one melt in. So it can be finicky, and it's not my favorite, but it does work. Love is such a beautiful blush toned transition shade. I love this one in the crease. It does have a tiny bit of micro shimmer running through it. That just helps it blend out a little bit better. It doesn't really show up too much on the eyes. If you're wanting some, like, bright pinks, definitely go for the Riviera palette. But if you're wanting some, like, romantic berry tone pinks, Modern Renaissance. If you're wanting some, like, rosy toned pinks, Norvina. Honorable mention to the Soft Glam palette though, because there are some pinks in here, and honestly, on my everyday look, I love having some, like, rose gold shades. I think people kind of just do brown on a daily basis, and I love throwing in a little bit of pink in there just to kind of switch things up. Sultry is the most beautiful shimmer shade known to mankind. It's extremely foiled, very metallic. It's this kind of dusty, rusty. It's very, very sexy. And rose pink right next to it is kind of the teenage sister. She's also very pink and very dusty rose. Rose pink is not too metallic, it's very soft. Dusty rose down in the corner is my favorite pink transition shade. Love in the Norvina palette is a bit more warm toned, whereas this one is a bit more like cool toned. Either way, if you're wanting some nice rose gold eyes, either one of these palettes is top notch. I really love the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette because it does have a more, I guess, like approachable version of a colorful palette. So the James Charles palette and James Charles in general can be intimidating. Whereas this, it is also colorful, but there's just some more like approachable shades in here. Up here in the top right hand corner, Faint and Sissy. Sissy is really cool because it's pink, but it has a bit of like a peachy gold flip, so it kind of has this like nice duochrome effect on the eyes. It's very warm toned, whereas Faint is a bit more of like light rosy toned blush pink shade. And the shimmer formula in here is one of my favorites from Morphe. So I love this palette a lot, even though you don't really have any like bright pinks to pair with those two shades. I think they're really gorgeous to work into any neutral kind of like rose gold eye look. I kind of just decided a long time ago that Colourpop Super Shock shadows weren't for me unless they were very unique colors, but when I went to go declutter those, the only one I could never declutter was the shade Weenie, because I genuinely use this one very often. Weenie, I believe, was created by Kathleen Knights, but if you can't see how insanely beautiful it is just by me like flipping it back and forth, this is just the most wet, metallic rose gold shade if you want to look like you're wearing eye gloss, but you don't want to actually wear eye gloss because eye gloss is sticky and gross. So stunning on the eyes. It's very nice and fine as well, so I feel like that doesn't allow it to crease as much as a super like chunky metallic shade would. It hits different. It picks up the light in a way that I can't even describe with words, so I'll just show you the swatch now. Finally, I wanted to mention a palette that I really, really enjoy. This is the CColor Cosmetics Dope palette, and right in here is my favorite rose pink metallic shade. It's so pretty. It's definitely packed with a lot of very fine glitter particles. So again, this one picks up the light in a really, really nice way. It can kind of give your eyes that more like dimensional look. This is just one of my favorite metallics. So I love me a good rose gold, but I love a unique rose gold, and this one is really that. Alright guys, so that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed the pink eyeshadows video. Really appreciate you guys having patience with the color series. These do take a bit of time to just kind of compile things and put together, but I love doing these, and I'm sad that we're running out of colors but I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you have any recommendations for me to try out, you know of a pink eyeshadow that I'm missing in my life, please let me know, because I love spending money on makeup that I don't need. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up. Make sure you are subscribed down below, and also follow me on Instagram to see makeup looks like this. Drink some water, do your Duolingo lessons, live life to its fullest. If you made it to the very end of this video, I love you so much. You get the bonus meme. Bye.
Somebody once told me